powerful presentations. Ivo de Boer, Executive Secretary of the UNFCCC, recounted the impressions of a young girl who was separated from her family during a cyclone. We saw the chairman of the IPCC to describe the effects of climate change projections, including that in Africa, by 2020, between 75 and 250 million people are projected to be exposed to water stress. Also, as many of you would have seen, an emotional video was shown by the Danish hosts that depicted a girl experiencing climate change impacts, including floods, glacier melt, hurricanes and severe storms. What all of these presentations had in common was quite clear, that climate change will make itself felt through water, whether too much or too little. So what's the problem here? The problem is that despite the widespread recognition that water will be the primary medium through which climate change impacts will be felt, the current manifestation of the negotiating text pays little regard to the role of water management in adapting to climate change. The current version of the negotiating text for adaptation, non-paper 53, includes just one scant reference to water resources in one of its annexes. Non-paper 53 is an amalgamation of two non-papers, non-paper 31 and non-paper 41, and non-paper 31 includes no reference to water at all. So, why is this a problem? Why is this an issue if the role of water is not recognised in the adaptation text? Now, we would say the answer is pretty easy, if unwelcome. The current adaptation text contains no clear vision for what constitutes adaptation action and falls short of providing member states with guidance on how to adapt to climate change. Worryingly, there seems to be a tacit assumption that water management considerations will be taken into account in adaptation plans, when in many cases this either isn't happening or there isn't the capacity to make it happen. Analysis by the World Water Assessment Programme and the role of water in National Adaptation Programmes of Action, the NAPAs, shows that integration of NAPAs with integrated water resources management is often significantly lacking. So as we see the imperative to adapt to unavoidable climate change becomes more urgent and funds begin to flow to assist developing countries in their adaptation efforts, the identification of the kinds of priority activities that must be undertaken will be crucial, and the role of water management must be recognised in this regard. Let's be clear, not talking about water management in response to an impending climate crisis is tantamount to not talking about food production in the face of famine. So, how will good water management actually benefit people's lives? As we know, climate change impacts will be felt predominantly through the water cycle. The GPPN report, Water World, Why the Global Climate Challenge is the Global Water Challenge, which you can find over there, demonstrates how impacts will be felt in relation to livelihoods, land, ecosystems, energy and gender. Water underpins everything, and managing it well among competing users is a critical adaptation response. A few examples illustrate this. Responsible water resource management will ensure that farmers in already water-scarce areas of the world, such as sub-Saharan Africa, will have access to information, resources and technologies to respond to irregular rainfall, such as climate-appropriate crops and more efficient irrigation systems. Water resource management will mean that neighbouring states relying on a single water resource will be supported to develop robust and flexible water-sharing treaties that take into account depleting flows. In its current state, the UNFCCC adaptation text is contradictory and incomplete. Climate change adaptation means adapting to changes in water availability and distribution. If we fail to recognise this simple connection, then we risk to undermine the larger objectives of the UNFCCC negotiations. This is our opportunity to recreate the vision for the future and put in place the frameworks to prepare communities around the world for the coming decades. Thank you. I'm now going to